Here I am, general shilling, repping the merch and stuff like that. Pathetic. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Ewan McQuaid, and today we are talking about the Impact UK Invasion Tour Coventry Night 1 is how I will put it. TNA back on UK soil. I went to the show last night and I have some thoughts, but before we dive into that, please hit subscribe, please like the video, please comment your thoughts down below if you were at the show or if you've attended one of these UK Invasion Tours. I would like to know all your thoughts. So I'm going to do this a bit different. It's not going to be my typical sort of play-by-play review. I'm going to break this down into sort of positives and negatives and give you my overall thoughts on the show, sort of like a review does, but I'm going to separate it a bit different because overall I thought the UK Invasion Tour Coventry Night 1 was a bit of a mixed bag. I didn't think it was fantastic. I didn't think it was like the blow-away stuff that Impact probably needed to put on for this tour to sort of re-establish themselves as one of the biggest promotions in the world, but it was fun. I'm not going to deny that it was not a fun night of wrestling, and there were some really, really cool and really good matches and really nice moments throughout the show. I just think overall it was a little bit uneven, particularly in the middle of the show, I'd say. So we're going to start with positives. Let's start with the good. Let's talk about the good, okay? Let's talk about the good. My favourite match on the show was Leon Slater versus Frankie Kazarian. I thought that was absolutely sick. I thought it was class. Kazarian has not lost a step, and going up against a young upstart like Leon Slater, who is one of the best in the world right now, was nothing short of fantastic. I absolutely loved this match. I thought it was so fun, so fast-paced. Really made both guys look strong and good, with Frankie Kazarian picking up the win. His springboard leg drop is a thing of beauty. But what happened after the match, it was officially announced. Scott D'Amore came out and offered Leon Slater a contract, which is signed. Leon Slater is an Impact Wrestling star, and I could not be happier for Leon Slater. It was such a feel-good moment. I'm so thrilled that he's going to make waves in the new era of TNA. I think he's going to be goddamn sensational. Future X-Division champion, probably a future Impact World champion. The sky is the limit for Leon Slater. I thought it was utterly fantastic. Had me tearing up a little bit. I was so happy for the guy. Awesome. Really hot way that opened the show. And I think another match, the match that followed, I also really love, which was Emerson Jane and Jordan Grace taking on Danny Luna and Deonna Purrazzo. I thought that was a really solid tag match. It was really, really good, really well worked. Both teams looked great. I was really impressed with Emerson Jane. I haven't seen much of Emerson Jane other than I think one Wrestle Carnival show, but she's really good. And Jordan Grace, my God, all the women in this match were goddamn fantastic. They Impact show why they have the best women's division on the planet when they put on tag team matches like this. Wasn't a classic by any means, but in terms of re-establishing and just showing everyone this is what we offer in terms of the women's division, when women's divisions in other companies aren't doing too well, I think it was perfect. Perfect tag match with Jordan Grace picking up the win. That only makes sense. She won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. Therefore, she'll be taking on whoever the Impact Women's Champion is at Hard to Kill. Makes sense for them to pick up the win and sort of bubble away a feud with Deonna Purrazzo. Loved it. Really sick tag match. So I was also a big fan of the surprise match that was on this show. They didn't announce it. I can't find a graphic for it, I'm afraid, but that was Amir Jordan taking on Rich Swann. I thought that was really fun, really high flying, and really got the crowd, got them going, got them riled up, got them into a frenzy because they're really good. It was really good high flying action that I absolutely loved. Rich Swann picked up the win. Of course, I think we all knew that was going to happen when the match was, happening. But yeah, this was really good. Rich Swann's so good. Amir Jordan's so good. I really, really loved that. And then we have the main event. The main event was changed. It was tweaked because Alex Shelley picked up an injury at either Turning Point or the show in Glasgow. Was that Turning Point? No. either show in Glasgow or Turning Point. Alex Shelley picked up an injury, therefore Frankie Kazarian would be replacing him in the main event. So the match was Subculture taking on Chris Sabin and Frankie Kazarian, taking on Josh Alexander and Eric Young. The crowd was super hot for Eric Young. Now, I like Eric Young. He was probably my, least favourite person out of everyone in this match. Subculture will easily my favourites. I love Subculture. They are some of my favourite wrestlers in the world, and they look great in this. They had a great showing in this with a terrific finish that just was mind-blowing. It looked so good. So what happened was Subculture went for their Poison Rana with the flying knee. Josh Alexander chucked Mark Andrews over, so Flash Monger hit him with the knee, and that is where he got the upper hand and hit. Josh Alexander and Eric Young hit simultaneous pile drivers on Subculture to pick up the win. Great. It was a really great main event. Sad not to see Alex Shelley there and see the Motor City Machine Guns in person. That was a shame, but it was really good. Chris Sabin looked great. Kazarian looked great doing double duty. I loved it. And then they did a big sort of "We are TNA, we are back" speech at the end that was awesome. All guys celebrated in the ring, and it was a really fitting way to close the show. So that was all the stuff that I loved. I loved that. That was really fun. Diving into some of the negatives, I think some of the other matches on this card just weren't up to par with what I was expecting from the tour, to be honest, what I was expecting from the show. And I think lying in that, you've got Moose and Rhino. While Rhino is incredibly over, I just don't think this match necessarily delivered, the meat fest that we were expecting. You look at big meaty men type matches, you've got the likes of Brian Cage versus Big Damo, or you've got Hobbs versus Miro. You've got these examples of matches that really catch fire. This didn't light the place on fire. This was a bit underwhelming, to be honest. Moose picked up the win in a really funny way when he chucked his armband and gave a low blow to Rhino, hit the best spear. I love Moose's spear, it's so cool. And he picked up the win. I thought that was fine, but it wasn't a hot match for me. Everyone was into Rhino, but for me personally, that one didn't land. I also think, to an extent, the Eddie Edwards and Joe Hendry match didn't necessarily click and didn't light the place on fire. It felt a bit too, I don't know how to describe this. This was just a standard match. This was like the bare bones standard match that you would get. If you put sort of AI to make a wrestling match, they'd probably make this match with Joe Hendry and Eddie Edwards, and it was fine. It was absolutely fine. I love singing Joe Hendry's theme song. He's so over. That was what sort of carried this. I didn't think it was particularly great. I thought it was not sloppy. It was well worked, but at the same time, it didn't light the place on fire, which is what I was hoping from this tour. So yeah, that was a bit underwhelmed by that. The final two matches that I'm going to talk about that were decent, that weren't like a low, but I just had higher hopes for, and that was the Women's Championship match, the Impact Knockouts Championship match between Trinity and Gisele Shaw. I've seen Gisele Shaw live before. She's fantastic. I absolutely love what she does. She's such a great heel character. And Trinity's great. Trinity's fantastic, so charismatic. But it didn't, I didn't think this was like a blow away awesome match. This was a standard TV main event, which I just had higher hopes, but it didn't hit with me the way I thought it would. And the other match that I enjoyed, that I'd probably maybe lump this in the side of good, was Brian Myers versus Grado, just because Grado is so funny, and everyone singing along to Like a Prayer is contagious. It was really funny. He had some great comedy spots, super kick into the belly and no sell in the German suplexes. Right decision to have Brian Myers pick up the win. But I don't think it was necessarily what I wanted to see. I wanted to see, maybe this is just me, I wanted to see like X Division level matches, which is probably me just having, a single side view of Impact Wrestling and what I want out of Impact Wrestling. But I think that's probably their strength, is like their X Division, their tag teams, and we didn't necessarily get that throughout this show. You got it in the main event, you got it at the start of the show, you had it sprinkled in with the Rich Swann match, but the X Division stuff, and particularly with Chris Bay and Ace Austin, who are incredible right now, them not being a part of the tour, I think was a little bit underwhelming. That's just sort of how I viewed it in my opinion. So what I would say overall about this show and about the UK Invasion Tour in general is that I'm hugely positive on it. I don't want this to come across as negative. I know I've just done all my negatives right at the end, but I'm hugely positive on it just for the exposure that Impact Wrestling and TNA is getting right now. I'm super excited for what they do in the future. I think we'll probably get, not a tour, I think we'll probably get a TNA pay-per-view at some point next year. I would not be shocked if that happens, and maybe we get maybe even like a Bound for Glory or something taking place in the UK, just for how hot that crowd was last night and how hot I hear the crowds have been throughout the tour. But yeah, I thought it's really fun. I'm really happy for the exposure that they're getting. While I didn't think the show was perfect, it wasn't necessarily crafted for me and what I get out of Impact Wrestling. I thought it was a tremendous success. I think the tour as a whole has been a tremendous success, and I'm so excited to see sort of where they go from here in terms of developing TNA and rebuilding TNA in the UK, a place that loves TNA. We love TNA. So yeah, I think overall I give this show a solid 3 out of 5. Not the worst show, but certainly not the best show I've been to this year. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Have you been? What did you think of the UK Invasion Tour? Let me know everything you want down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.